So this morning, I'm going to talk about being candid. And being candid is one of the 8 steps of the authentic networker. And it comes into play in a couple of different areas, but the most prevalent one is there's a whole lot of people in our profession that will teach you as a network marketer, as a salesperson. It doesn't matter what you're doing, right? You could be selling cars, you could be selling real estate. They'll teach you to have an elevator speech. And what is an elevator speech? Well, it's supposed to be like if you get in the elevator with somebody and you go up to the whatever, 5th or 6th floor or 10th floor, you're supposed to be able to tell somebody what you do in such a way that they want to buy from you by the time you get to the 10th floor, or you get on at the 10th floor by the time you get to the bottom. That's why they call it an elevator speech. Is you're supposed to be able to do it in like 20 or 30 seconds or 10 seconds or something. And I don't know, a lot of you may have been taught to do an elevator speech, and I'm not saying they don't work, or I'm not saying don't do them. I'm just going to give you a different perspective. And the most famous perspective I have on this is my good friend Mark Yarnell, rest in peace, one of the most prolific, successful network marketers and network marketing trainers in the world, passed away a few years ago. But Mark loved elevator speeches, and his was, people asked him what he did. He said, well, I'm an emergency retirement specialist. And that was his elevator speech. I'm an emergency retirement specialist. And of course, all of these elevator speeches, they follow along those same lines of what I call a riddle. So somebody asked you what you do for a living, and what you're supposed to do is give them a riddle. Like, here's another one. This one is in the form of a question. So somebody says, well, what do you do? And your answer is, well, you know how some people run out of money before they run out of month? Well, I teach people how to run out of month before they run out of money. Right? And a million other riddles, which on the ranch, we would call that kind of response BS, right? Because if you ask somebody what you do for a living, what do you want to know? So if you ask me, you meet me on a plane, I'm on an elevator, whatever, then somehow the conversation gets to, well, Richard, what do you do? Do you want to know what I do, or do you want a riddle? What do you want to know, right? Because if I give you a riddle, you're just going to have to ask again, right? So Mark says, I'm an emergency retirement specialist. You say, well, okay, what's that? Okay, well, now what's he going to say? No, what's the second level of the answer? Is he going to say, well, you know how some people run out of money before they run out of month? Well, I teach people how to run out of month before they run out of money. Okay, I still don't know what you do. Let me ask again, what do you do? You know how some people recommend a good movie or a restaurant and never get paid for it? Well, I teach people how to recommend things that they love and get paid for it. Okay, this is exhausting. I'm at the 3rd generation of asking you. Now I'm starting to use profanity, right? When I ask you what you do for a living, now I'm asking you, what do you blank do for a living? And I've got you by the throat. Why? Because I just want to know what you do for a living. So I know some of you have heard me teach this, and you probably just gags you. You just don't know what to do with it. You can't hardly stand it. But what I've been telling people for about 30 years that I do for a living is, if I'm in my network marketing mode, I'm also a coach and seminar leader and author, but that's a different answer. But if I'm in my network marketing mode, somebody says, what do you do for a living? I say, I'm a network marketer. I market this line of products through the model of network marketing. Now, I know they don't know what network marketing is. And so I could explain it, right? I could say, oh, well, right? You fall in love with a product and you recommend it to other people and you recruit a sales team and everybody's independent and it's exponential growth, blah, 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 blah. Right? And I know there's some people that think they have a 1-minute explanation of what network marketing is, but I have a better one. Because what the person asking wants to know is, what do you do? And they don't want to have to ask twice, right? They want to understand what you do. So what I've been telling people for 30 years is I'm a network marketer. And, maybe I tell them about the products that I market, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm a network marketer, but I know you probably don't know what that means, so let me explain to you what that means. Have you ever heard of a company called Amway, Herbalife, Nu Skin, Mary Kay Cosmetics, Tupperware, Avon, Forever Living, Isogenics, doTERRA? Have you ever heard of those companies? And I'm just going to keep naming companies until the person I talk to goes, oh, now I know what you do for a living. Now, why do I do that? Well, one of the reasons I do it is I'm a lifelong ambassador for the network marketing model. And one of the reasons people don't trust and like our model is for 70 years, network marketers have been lying about what they do. They've been like using the curiosity approach, they use the riddle approach, even when people ask them, right, is this network marketing? No. This is like a referral leveraged sales system, social selling. Not network marketing. No, not. Is this like Amway? Oh, no. Of course, now if that works and then they actually go to the next level to learn about what you're doing, don't you think somewhere in the process they're going to go, this looks like a lot like Amway? Which now makes you what as a network marketer? Another liar. So, you know what? If people's issue with joining me is network marketing, I'd really like to know that right up front. I'd like to know what their issue is. So when I say, well, let me explain to you what I mean by network marketing, I'm talking about Amway, or I just go down through the top 10, right? Until they go, oh. And maybe I have to talk about Scentsy and Stella and Dot, or, 31 Gifts, or Beauty Counter, or, Rodan and Fields, or Arbonne. You just keep naming companies, right? Until they go, oh, yeah, I understand what you're talking about now. And then I might just ask them, do you have any experience with those companies? You ever been in one? You ever been approached by one, right? Why do I ask that? Because I want to get right to it. Like, what's the issue? What's their bias? What's their fear? What's their ignorance? I want to know what it is. It also has me leading the conversation, right? And of course, if somebody says, well, it's a pyramid scheme, so I could argue with them. I could tell them, well, actually in 1979, the Federal Trade Commission versus Amway, blah, 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 and network marketing is not illegal. It's not a pyramid scheme. I could cite a few other Supreme Court cases. I could do that, but that's not going to do any good. Or I could just ask them, well, what do you mean by a pyramid scheme? And how do you know about that? So tell me about pyramid schemes, right? So anyway, that's a whole other listening to objections model, but just presencing the idea of being candid. And here's another opportunity to be candid, right? So whatever it is that you're avoiding as a salesperson, whatever it is you're ashamed of, you're afraid of, whatever you're afraid people might find out about, get some light on me. Try this. Try leading with candor. So let's say you've been doing whatever you're doing for 2 or 3 years and you're not making a lot of money yet. And so you're afraid to talk to people because you're afraid people are going to ask you, well, how much money are you making? Right? Does that sound familiar to any of you? So what do you do about that? You say, well, I'm going to start prospecting people as soon as I start making some money so that I'm not afraid to prospect people in case they ask me if I'm making any money. Okay, so what are you going to do? Go sell cars to make money so that you're making money so then you can prospect people into network marketing? That doesn't make any sense. That's like chicken and egg, right? So how do you give yourself permission to start talking to people if you haven't made any money? How do you move through the shame? Candor. Just try it. It works like magic. And what does it sound like? Well, next time you go to talk to somebody, you call somebody up and you say, hey, Mary, I want to talk to you about what I'm doing, but first I got to tell you, I've been wanting to talk to you for 2 years, and the reason I haven't is I've been doing this for 2 years, but I haven't made any money. And I'm embarrassed about that. I've been doing it for 2 years, but I'm not making any money. And that's why I haven't called you. Now that's leading with candor, actually vulnerability. And when you lead with your vulnerability, people don't take advantage of it. They don't beat you up about it. They actually embrace and take to heart your vulnerability. They get on your side of the conversation and they go heart to heart with you. And then especially when you take full responsibility for not making money, and it's so easy to do, you can just tell Mary, and Mary, the reason I'm not making any money is I'm afraid to call everybody because I'm not making any money. It's like a catch-22, right? How do I make any money unless I call people, but I'm afraid to call people because I'm not making any money? That's why I haven't made any money, Mary. But I got in this coaching program, or I read this book, or I heard this thing, and you know what? Last week I had this epiphany that maybe I should just tell people what I'm afraid of. Or maybe you haven't called somebody because they're more successful than you and you think that they're going to think that you're an idiot for asking them to take a look at what you're doing. So how do you move through that with candor? Lead with it. Hey, Janine, I want to talk to you about what I'm doing, but I just got to tell you up front, I've been wanting to talk to you for 2 years, but I'm intimidated to talk to you because you're so much more successful than I am. And I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing as well as you're doing. And I've always held you in really high regard, and I just thought you might think I'm stupid for doing this, so I haven't called you for 2 years. Today's the day I conjured up the courage to call you. Can I tell you what I'm doing? Can you imagine somebody saying, no, I do think you're an idiot. I've been thinking you're an idiot for 2 years. Don't talk to me about what you're doing. Not when you lead with candor. When you and I get beat up by prospects, is when we lead with bluster, when we lead with all hat and no cattle, as we say on the farm, when we lead with BS, when we lead with hype. Now, I'm all for posture in terms of confidence, right? I'm all for that. So you be as confident and stand your ground as powerfully as you can muster. And be candid about what you're afraid of, what you're ashamed of. What has kept you from doing what you need to do? And if somebody asks you what you do, tell them. Tell them in a way that gets to they understand exactly what you do as fast as possible. Why? Because they'll trust you. And you might just show up as the first network marketer they've ever trusted. And when you consider the fact that what we do as network marketers is offer people community and opportunity and relationships and fun and adventure and education and income and health, what we offer is actually things that people are looking for. But the reason they don't often look at us is they don't trust us. Why? Because we too often act like a bunch of wackadoos. Hi, Christine. And that's what I have to say about that. If you know a network marketer that acts like a wackadoo or is thinking about acting like a wackadoo or isn't talking to anybody because they're afraid somebody will find out that they're not as successful as they want everybody to think they are. I don't know, today's Thursday, right? What does that make Thursday? Tag day, share day. Okay. See you tomorrow.